Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Catherine and I make videos about dyeing, sewing, and upcycling. If that sounds like something you're into, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Today I'm going to make another tutorial for sewing, and I'm going to be using the fabric that I dyed from last week's video. I will link that down in the description below for you in case you want to see that dyeing tutorial. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the like button. It's super easy for you to do and it really helps my videos. It helps other people to find my videos. I'm going to be making a t-shirt with the pattern from Dressy Talk. It's a PDF pattern that I downloaded and put together, and it also comes with a dress pattern. I really like this t-shirt pattern. I would give it a good review. It fits me well. And I think it gives me a lot of room to grow for my bump. So let me know if you think I should make a dress out of this same pattern. I think I would like to. I would love to know if you guys would be interested to see the dress pattern as well. But first, before we get into the video, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor of this video, Creative Market. Creative Market is a website that has downloadable things for all of your digital creative needs. That includes graphics such as illustrations, stock photos, themes for your websites, templates for social media, fonts, templates for business cards, resumes, anything that you might need that's a digital template, they have it. I especially love their social media templates that they have. They're very handy and they can give you a fresh idea of what to do on your social media. I'll put their website down in the description box below, so go and check it out for all of your creative digital needs. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
As always with my videos, I will link all the supplies down in the description below. First, you're going to need a shirt pattern, and I will link the one I used down below in the description box. 1.5 to 2 yards of knit fabric. I like to use extra sharp pins, fabric scissors, a fabric marker for marking your notches, a highlighter, tape to put together the PDF pattern, dyed to match thread for whatever kind of fabric you're using, a sewing machine. I used also a serger, but you can just use your zigzag on your regular sewing machine if you want, an iron, and an ironing board. So be sure to wash and dry your fabric. If you are interested in seeing how I dyed this fabric, I have a tutorial that I'll link in a card above and down in the description below. I hand dyed this fabric for this project. Next, I am putting together my PDF pattern with tape and trimming it. Here it is totally put together, and I am going to actually, one thing I like to do is to use a highlighter on the size that I intend on cutting out. This helps me to cut out the right size on the pattern because sometimes it's confusing with all the lines, and it just helps me to cut out the exactly right piece. Here are all of the pattern pieces that I have cut out for my shirt. I have the front, the back, the sleeve, and the neck. This is a really simple pattern. So next I'm going to put them on my fabric and cut them out. So I am folding it over and trying not to waste any of the fabric. I'm also kind of keeping in mind where the stripes fall on the pieces before I pin them down. So I pin them down and then I cut them out. Over on my sewing machine table, I have got my machine threaded up with the dyed to match thread that matches my fabric, and I'm just testing out the fabric to make sure that the tension is right, and I'm going to use a zigzag stitch to hem on this one. If you guys haven't already, be sure to hit the like button. It's really easy and free for you guys to do, and it really helps my channel. So next I'm going to make sure I've marked all my notches with my fabric marker. The first thing to do is to make my gathering lines, and I am just doing that on the side seams. You can see here I'm making like a U shape, and then I'm going to gather on both sides evenly. Here you can see the front piece has the gathering, and I'm just making sure that it matches up nicely with the back. So I'm going to pin the side seams together, and you can see I'm using a lot of pins on the gathered section just to make sure I don't get any like wrinkles or bumps more than what is already there. In hindsight, I should have sewn the shoulder seams first and then added the sleeves. That would have been easier, and that's what the instructions say to do, but I did it this way and it worked out okay. So, you know, sometimes things don't go to plan. So I'm just going to keep pinning up both side seams here and then move on to pin up the shoulder seams. Here's a little close-up of the shoulder seams, pinned and ready to be sewn. Like I said, I'm going to be using my serger, and I always like to adjust it to the right tension and width of stitch for the fabric I'm using. This is a Brother machine, and it's really sturdy, and it wasn't very expensive. So I would recommend this serger if you're looking for a good one. It's pretty easy to thread and maintain. I haven't had any problems, and I use it all the time. So here I'm doing a test swatch, and I'm just adjusting the tension so that it doesn't make wavy seams. Let me know down in the comments if you have a serger and what kind of serger you have and how you like it, and if you want to see more videos about sergers. I know they can be a little tricky to get right, but once you get it, it's awesome to have that in your sewing arsenal. Also, if you don't have a serger, you can totally make this pattern just with a zigzag stitch on your regular sewing machine. So don't worry if you don't have a serger. You can definitely make this pattern. So I'm just going to sew up the side seams and the shoulder seams, both of them, and then I'm going to fit it on my self or my form just to make sure it's looking right. All right, so I put it on the form, and the form is a little bit smaller than me, but you can see kind of the gathering. And I mean, it's gonna be, once it's stretched out like this, it'll be more straight on the bottom. So I mean, it kind of looks silly just on this form because the form's not pregnant, but you can kind of get the sense. This is quite a wide neckline. And then I'm going to do the cap sleeves over here. And here's the back. I love the placement of the die here. I think it looks really nice. Organic but stripy. Very cool. So then I moved on to adding the binding on the neckline, and with knits there's not a lot of pieces, and the binding can kind of make or break whatever it is that you're sewing, so this is sort of tricky. So the first thing I did was to sew the short ends of the binding together, and then I'm going to iron it in half. And you can see it's a circle. It's kind of bad filming, sorry guys, but anyway, I'm going to make it a circle and then iron it in half and then start to pin it onto my neckline. So at this point, it becomes obvious how important it is to mark your notches. I always line up the notches first with a pin, and then I go back in between the notches and pin it evenly so it has even tension. If you get the binding too tight, it will look weird, like it will look like elastic around your neck, and if you get it too loose, it will sort of get wavy and get too stretched out, and it'll give you that sort of like worn out t-shirt look. So this part is a little bit nuanced, and if you want, you can even baste the binding onto your neckline just to make sure it looks right. You do want the binding to be a tad smaller than the opening of the neckline or whatever it is that you're putting binding on, just as like a general rule of thumb, but you don't want it to be like too tight. It's kind of a thing that just takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of feeling. So once I get the binding all pinned on, I'm going to serge it on, And I'm going to be really careful with my pins so I don't hit the blade with the pins. Just going slow, a couple stitches at a time. Alright, so I got the binding on, and you can see it looks pretty good. It's not like too tight or too loose, so that's great. I'm just going to iron it. And next I'm going to put the sleeves on. So first things first, I'm going to serge the edge of the sleeve, the hem, on both sleeves, and then I'm going to hem them up. So here I have the left and the right, and I'm just double checking that they are mirrored and that they have one as a left and one as a right before I hem them. I don't know if you've ever hemmed two left sleeves or two right sleeves, but I have, and it's very annoying. So I just double check before I hem them up. So I'm just going to iron up that hem, and then I'm going to pin them with my pins, and then I'm going to go and hem them on my zigzag machine. Now at this point I did not have a double needle for my machine, but I have gotten one since and I absolutely love it. So if you have a double needle, use it, or you can just use a zigzag if you don't have it, but I will put the double needle that I have down in the description. It was not very expensive and it's pretty easy to use with all kinds of machines. I have a vintage Kenmore that is solid metal and I love this machine. Let me know down in the comments below what kind of machine you have, and if you've ever used a double needle. Let me know down in the comments if you guys would like to see a video on how to install and thread your machine to use a double needle. So now I'm just going to zigzag the hem on the bottom of the shirt, and I have serged it to finish that raw edge. Alright, so at this point I am going to add the sleeves, and I'm just going to make sure I'm putting the front on the front and the back on the back. So of course I've marked my notches and I'm making sure I'm checking them, and I'm just slowly putting the sleeves on, and I'm pinning them up very carefully. Again, you could have done this before sewing up the side seam and then sewing the side seam of the body and the sleeve in one fell swoop. That would have been easier probably, but I did kind of want to check the fit of this before I did that. So that's one of the reasons why I did it this way, just to make sure it was going to fit me. I did try it on. That's one thing about doing all patterns, is just try things on before you finish them. That's my motto, at least, because patterns are kind of a general thing and everyone is shaped differently, and you want to make sure that you're sewing for your body, and that's one of the great things about sewing. So sometimes I don't follow the instructions exactly. After I get it pinned on, I'm just going to sew the sleeves onto the armhole and sew up the underarm seam on the sleeve, which is very, very short. And after that, I am done, and it's time to model the shirt. So here it is, you guys. Here's a little bit of front and back. Let me know what you think about this shirt. This fabric doesn't have a ton of stretch, so it's a little bit big on me. It's super comfy and it's nice for the 100-degree days, and I have more room for my bump to grow. But I really like this shirt and I really like this pattern. Again, if you want to learn how I dyed this fabric, you can check out the tutorial on my channel, and I also have a lot of sewing and dyeing tutorials on my channel. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Be sure to go and follow me on all my social medias at Onyx Art Studios, and you can sign up for my mailing list at onyxartstudios.com for more information about online dyeing workshops and upcoming events. If you like this video, be sure to check out these other tutorials on my channel, and be sure to subscribe for a new video every Thursday. Alright, thanks guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!